So with work and everything, it's taken a while to put some more stuff together. So some of this is a bit jointed, and just bear with me and we'll try and make sure that it runs together reasonably well. Alright, so I haven't done a massive amount since last I posted a vid. Partly just sort of chewing over what to do, how to fix things in, how to make most of the space. But then we've fitted through a few cupboards and doors and frames and stuff, and I'll show you where we've got to so far. So first off, I tried to make a cupboard for the electrical doodahs, and this is it. I was trying to use these corner bits to sort of tie in with how it looks elsewhere. It's a bit of a fiddle generating the cupboard and get it to fit, but either way. So the corner takes two side pieces, the bottom with those corner screws that I mentioned before, in fact, like that. They're used to make the sides to the bottom, and I used standard cupboard, kitchen cupboard hinges to make the front. So the negative bus bar, the positive fuse box, the switches, and then there are going to be wires going between the two. I made some up and then fitted the cupboard in there about 4 inches too short, so duh. So we'll make some more. So this is relatively solid. These are because the hinge has a positive pull against it. I then had to put something there for it to fix against, so that it's fairly solid. These brackets, it took some fiddling to figure out how to fix it onto the wall. There are the channels where the old vents used to go, and there's one there, and one in the corner. And that I managed to figure out from taking the photographs right at the beginning. And from that, there are rivet bolts into them, and then bolts going into them here and here, and then it's screwed into the side panels and screwed into those, and that has kept it really pretty solid. It's open here to give me access to any of the wires, and also coming from the solar panel, all that kind of stuff. And so I brought it out to the edge of this, and the on-off switch for the batteries in there. I've left it on, and then the various things are going to be for the water and power and all the rest of it. These are cheapy versions of the cupboard locks. I'm sure you've seen them. They work pretty well. They came with no directions or instructions, so in terms of which way round the retaining plate goes and all that kind of stuff, I had to kind of figure out. So here's the final product, the control screen for the solar panels there on the left. In the middle is the water heater, and on the right is the control panel that we saw before. So here's me making a meal of putting the tambour door on the cupboard. The screws are prominent, so the tape's going either side of it. The track, even when it's put over the top of that, needs trimming to go around the screws so that it's flush. Now normally speaking, you put this thing on when you've made a square frame, and you put it on and then bring the whole thing with the tambour door on into the camper van. But as I've had to build to the shape and size of the walls and wheel shape and all the rest of it, I've had to put it in situ. you have to put the doors down the track first and then put the roller on. If you do it any way different, you can't get it in. And I would highly recommend you put some sort of silicone grease of some sort on the spirals. Without it, it's a real struggle to push it up and down. As soon as it's on, it's amazing how little you need for it to really move very freely, and it makes life a hell of a lot easier. So we're going to get to the end of this. I'm not going to put the whole lot in of putting the thing in, and the next video is just looking at some of the panels that have been made, and therefore you'll just see the front of the tambour door when it's already been done. This is the panel behind the air heater, and I was looking at various ways of getting decent access and decided actually the best access would be if the whole panel could come out. So there's a bolt through the frame that I made in there, a nut on a nut to keep it locked, and then you can undo this. The panel will just ease enough out to slot out of the corner, and then you've got complete access to that. This is a vent into vent air in to the heater going out, and there's also he says there's also a dropout valve in there. Don't know if the light will show you. Yeah, and this is the drainage pipe if you want to drain the fridge when it's been cleaned out, and the back of the heater's there with gas coming through from in there. The water, well, that got a bit more involved than I thought it needed to do, but in the end it seems to have worked out okay. So that's the sort of sump pump on the left, suction pump for the drainage from the shower. I was going to put it over there, but the shenanigans of getting the pipe round and power to it and all the rest of it just proved too silly. So that takes, you can see the pipe coming round from there, it's going to come into there, and then it comes, changes size. So it's a larger bore for coming out of the shower, going underneath, and it comes back under, just under that carpet over there, swings round, and then gets reduced to the smaller bore that goes to the sump pump. And then the sink, which is going to be here, this is the drain from that. That goes onto a Y connection there, and then goes through to the grey water tank, which is behind there where the spare wheel used to be. That's designed to be just drinking water, and there's a separate tap and faucet and in bottle pump for it. That's an old military strap that I've secured to the panel just to stop the bottle thrashing about, and that's an inline water filter for the drinking water that isn't yet fixed to the wall. There's just about enough room to squeeze it in, but I've got to get the sink in and see where the tap's going to go before I finalise that, otherwise I might run out of space. So the hot and cold water out there goes through to the hot water tank heater behind the passenger seat, then comes back through and then goes along and goes down and comes out the bottom there for the shower. And there's obviously T-pieces in there for the cold and hot water coming up to the sink, which will be here. Just at the point of, as soon as the shower's finished, of cutting up the work surface to be able to finally fit the sink. And other than the gas, we've just about almost finished. It's been so long since I took some clips, what with work and one thing and another. I'm not quite sure where we got up to, but this is where we finally got to. It took a lot of fiddling, so it missed the sink, it had something strong to sit on, it, you know, etc, etc. So these are, you know, fairly lightweight, and it also will give a way through to the gas taps as well as through here. The actual, oh well, that's the water access point for the loo. The sliders actually both lock in, but being a belt and braces sort of person, I thought we'll stick that on. And also you need something to pull the thing out with. This is not perfect because after having measured and measured and measured, I didn't take account of the protuberance of the bottom. But if you just give it a gentle pull, it'll come round. And then clearly you can't do it from where I'm standing, but standing from there is fine if you're short. And if you're not short, you crouch, or we go to plan B, which is this. I couldn't do it with one hand, so I just put it up, and as you can see it collapses down, but it's the perfect height to be at the cooker. Your head's then round about here and you're alright, and also that seat fits neatly there for if the cupboard's coming out, so all is well. Right, well I finally bit the bullet and decided to sort the shower out. So the shower tray is actually bonded to the floor with Sikaflex. The lips here, you can see around the edge, go up slightly. They did used to go down, so I used a heat gun carefully on the back side of it, and then just slowly bent them up a bit so that when I build up the area around here, the water's going to run into and not away from the tray. There's a wooden board underneath my feet which supports this so that it's not resting on the plastic, on just the outside rim. This is one of those standard Thetford shower trays, but it's been trimmed heavily, as you saw in one of those other videos. Round here, trying to sort out this panel and this panel has been a bit of a pain in the arse. The shelf I put on for the tap, this is just a standard tap. These were great. I found some long push fit tap tails, and I'll show you where I've finally brought the water through in a bit. I did think it would look better with this, just to break up all the white and stuff, but I'm not sure if I made a mistake, but it's a bit late to go back now. These trim corner pieces are great. They were to sort out the edge where I couldn't quite get the tongue and groove to behave itself. Although it looks like there's a gap, there's not. There's loads of Sikaflex behind there, so even the water just gets into the gap, it'll just run out again. Underneath here, I was originally just going to put a board straight down there, same as this, and just put the L trim on the edge of it. But actually, it's impossible to get it far enough over and still come down and miss all this for the loo, and the loo edge comes up and just comes back around and skirts inside there. You'll notice that the thing's gapping a bit there because I've had to allow this to move to be able to fit the loo. I did try it and then suddenly realised that once this panel is permanently fixed and doesn't move at all, you can't click the stubs for the water filler in the loo in. I'll show you once it's in. So these are just PVC plastic sheeting. It's got a blue protective cover on over the moment, and that allows me to get the trim round the bottom and come over the top and curve it around, because there's a support pillar here from the back of the wheel arch, and yet produce something that doesn't look too bad. I deliberately left a lip here rather than trying to put it up underneath, because I've got no way of getting behind it to push it up flush, and so I've got one of these behind there. This is just in temporary at the moment, and it just means that I've got something to push this against, and it keeps that at a fixed angle. And then as you can see, one there, and they're all just to be able to get the panel in a fixed position, because I did temporarily fit the loo. I cannot get down here, it's just not possible. So all of this needs to be as it's going to be, including a big blob of filler there to put the Sikaflex to put in when the loo goes in, because I can't get back there again without taking the loo out. The panel here then will be brought in flush onto the back of the loo and fixed in. I can't get to it here, which was with the original plan. I can't get to it there because the loo comes flush up to the back there, so I'm actually going to have to put some oblique panel screws on from this side and try and tidy it up either with a a small courtesy panel over it or something like that. There's a little bit of a bulge in the floor here, but the metal plates over the top of the fuel tank that somebody mentioned recently about how am I going to get to it, but they're there anyway, so I can't screw that down, but it does squish down when you sit on it. I've been trying it out. So the cunning plan is to Sikaflex this into place, then onto the brackets, then put that bracket in, push this on, then seal it all the way around, then put the loo in, and I've already cut this panel out and robbed the bit from the inside to fit into the door, and then I've got a water door for here. So here we go. Still got to put sealant across there to seal between the two panels, and it's finally got a decent seal across the back. My one concern is right down at the bottom corner. I can't get to it. I think it's okay, but I'm not absolutely certain. What I would say is though, this, which obviously is the water, these 4 screws help to drag the loo up against the back of the panel. I'm sure if I was clever enough and I'd actually read all the instructions properly, it might have mentioned what thickness of wall was the minimum. But this is 15mm veneered ply, and when I first put it on I thought, oh, that's a bit rubbish, because the loo wasn't pulled up against the back. I was thinking I was going to have to seal all around. I just thought it was rubbish, and then I realised that there are 4 little feet behind here that come through like that, and they were just too long by about that much. So using a chisel, because I thought it was the easiest way to do it accurately, I just took off a certain amount. They've got cross bracings inside the column, so even though they look like they might be hollow, they're not. And there's actually a hole for the screw to go down, so you can. I cut one off and tried it, looked okay, so then I cut the rest. And that meant that as you screw this in, obviously you can't go crazy because you'll just burr the screw off in the hole, which is why I used quite big screws so it had a good hold. That really has pulled the loo quite well up to the back, so that actually it's sealed really nicely around the top and the far side as you look at it. This there was some doubt as to whether we're going to get this originally to fit. It's just catching on what I'm kneeling on. But this hose, which is sort of a breather for the tank once it's in there, I've actually put an extension lead on, and that's it there, and I'm going to feed it out into sort of around the gearbox and stuff, because I didn't want any smells to accumulate in here and have nowhere to go. But you can see there's loads of room to get the cassette in and out. but you've got to make sure you measure it really carefully, because if this is proud, then of course you may not get the cassette in past the lip. Getting that to still match up with that was fun. I ended up cutting it, if anything, a little bit short, but thankfully the inner panel that holds it has got a lip around it, so you can hide that. So next is making the drawers for here. I've been putting it off because, as with everything, although it's been put square to the wall, it's all slightly out, and this panel here demonstrated that quite badly. All these things were squared off using a T-square, but they still don't really fit well to the back, so the drawers are gonna have to have a bit of compensatory unevenness to them, which I'm not looking forward to try and match up. Either way, for now, that'll do.